What happens when a nation's morals are corrupt? And that making money at all cost and essentially a low-trust society is the common assumption when you're talking about modern-day China. From mixing terrible low-quality building material known as tofu-dried construction to metals that corrode easily.
快断了，你看到没有？全部断了，这里也快断了一边了。
So until they fix the issue of corrupt morals, the idea that you need to make money all means necessary, which by the way was actually caused by the CCP themselves, there is no high quality to be called for. And unfortunately, this is China today. And this is also China today.
这开发商为了卖房，居然弄了个假麦当劳在这儿，这都不是什么国内的什么巨无霸呀，什么麦香鱼什么的，这都外国的字儿，图片在这儿一贴就当麦当劳了，让大家以为这儿还挺繁华，其实根本都是全是假的呀。
How did a country with 5,000 years of civilization, built on moral restraints, traditional values, and social harmony, end up here? If I had to be honest, reacting to seeing, researching these videos from China actually adds a level of depression to my life. And I felt that there was no way to restore the morals of Chinese people until one name came up, Shen Yun. Now, you probably have seen the show with the billboards on highways or a poster on the window of your neighborhood shops. It's a classical Chinese dance performing arts company based in New York. Specifically, what caught my attention was this slogan, China before communism. Before belief systems, rituals, moral hierarchies, and traditional values were torn apart. So here I am thinking, if the celebration of traditional Chinese culture is China before communism, what does an American dance company know about Chinese culture? Now, clearly, I am no expert in art. Well, seeing that, and so I truly will never appreciate the depth of artistic values, but what I am good at is understanding the threat of the CCP. What piqued my interest further is how the CCP has focused on attacking Shen Yun over the years. In fact, Shen Yun seems to be a major target of CCP transnational repression. Essentially, from having their tires on the tour buses slashed, to bomb threats at the theater that they're about to perform in, to individual CCP agents working to destroy Shen Yun's operations. Now, fortunately, in that case, they were caught and punished. And since last year, there's been a ramp-up of articles painting Shen Yun as a controversial, closed-off, secret organization that is doing some very illegal stuff. Is that true? Okay, so a dance company aimed at restoring traditional Chinese culture in China is a big problem for the Chinese Communist Party who destroyed the culture? Yeah, well, I need to know more. So I reached out to Shen Yun and I was invited to their headquarters in upstate New York at Dragon Springs. And I went along with my friend, fellow YouTuber Ben Hedges. Yeah, he pressured me into doing some, or attempting to, show off my flexibility and dance moves around the dancers of Shen Yun. It was a big embarrassing moment, but yeah, I'll show it to you.
Good morning, everybody. It's very snowy. It's very cold right now, but we're in front of the Dragon Spring Temple. As you can see in the background, the sun is coming up and it looks beautiful. And we're going to spend a day here to really understand what takes place here at the home base of Shen Yun here in Dragon Spring.
The Dragon Springs consist of multiple Tang Dynasty era architecture in the forms of gates, temples, and pagodas, and it sits on about 400 acres of land in the Catskills in upstate New York. There's multiple organizations here on site. There's Shen Yun Performing Arts, there's a college called Feitian College, and there's an academy called Feitian Academy of the Arts. So one of the first things I noticed before you even get inside the campus is actually security. You enter through the gate here and you see the cars are coming in and they have to show their badges to be able to enter the campus. And so I was very interested to understand why that is the case. So we got a chance to sit down with Lishai Lemish, a MC with Shen Yun, to understand why the guards are at the gate.
From the very beginning, the Chinese Communist Party, through its consulate in New York, was sending people out here to attack us. The consulate actually drove right up to the gate in the early days. And after that, they started sending other people. And so we had people trying to break in. We had people come in and cut our wires for our security cameras. We had people spread nails on our driveways. We've gotten, over the last 2 years, over 100 bomb threats and death threats and arson threats that they're going to come in here and shoot the guards and rape the girls and kill everybody. We got these sometimes on a daily basis. And so that's why we have security. We have kids here. We have people who escape persecution here. The CCP wants to know who's here. With their facial recognition technology, they can go and harass their family members back in China. That's happened. We've had some of our artists here have had their homes broken into, like our choreographer had his home broken into and only his laptop stolen, none of the jewelry that was on the counter. These are the kinds of things that people here experience. So you think, well, you're in this beautiful kind of, foothill of the Catskills campus here, why do you need security? And the truth is, we would rather we didn't. I would love for all my friends and family and everybody who's curious to come up and take a tour and see it, and we wouldn't have to check IDs at the gate, but the reality is we're still facing persecution in China and even transnational repression here, and so for now we have to have security. And threatening to throw our kids off of buildings, rape our female performers. In one case, for a while we couldn't trace these. We didn't know where they were from because they were using VPNs, so they would come from all over the world. Then when our company was in Taiwan last year, they actually had an article in the Liberty Times in Taiwan. They were the first ones who revealed this, that they had set up, the Taiwanese security had set up a joint task force between Taiwanese police and their FBI equivalent, and they traced the threats to Xi'an, China, right at the Huawei Research Institute. And that was the first time we could say, for a fact, these threats came from China, very likely for somebody working for the CCP. And these have continued, and we get them at Dragon Springs all the time. So if you think about, you're a performer, you're a dancer, you're about to go on stage, and you know that there's somebody out there sending death threats to you specifically for doing these performances. And sometimes they even use names of performers in their messages to let us know they're following us and know exactly what we're doing.
Wow.
Just imagine the courage of the performers to go on stage every day.
Hey, it's Editing David here. I just wanted to add some context since we went up to do the interviews at Dragon Springs. The CCP has continued its threat and transnational repression. For example, in recent days, they sent emails to Australia which triggered a bomb threat against the Australian Prime Minister. And similar emails also happened recently in the UK, where the Chinese Communist Party threatened to shoot Prime Minister Keir Starmer over Shen Yun's performance. Shen Yun's mission since 2006 was to revive traditional Chinese culture and share it with the world. And according to Shen Yun's website, the artists practice Falun Dafa, or Falun Gong. It is a source of inspiration for their performances. Falun Gong teachings are centered on three main principles: truth, compassion, and forbearance. In July 1999, the CCP started to persecute Falun Gong adherents in China, and that persecution is ongoing still today. Now, as I've learned, many of the dancers or their family members actually escaped the persecution in China and moved to the United States, where many of the performers are continuing this mission. Meet Heng Wei, a principal dancer with Shen Yun. His mother was persecuted and jailed for practicing the faith.
是我妈妈因为修炼法轮功，然后上街去发真相传单，就是告诉世人，告诉中国的民众被判刑7年。然后我妈妈就是被抓走之后，感觉就整个就是感觉天塌下来一样，就是家庭变支离破碎。我当时的性格就一个很大转变，因为从小我是比较开朗的一个人。
那他一直还是继续受到迫害吗？还是他的状况当时？
他状况就是他被放出来，但是还是在持续被监控的状态下，然后之后又反反复复有可能被抓进去2、3次。就是其实我妈妈在监狱里的经历，她是不太愿意跟我说的，但是就是我其实也有听到，就是他们会定期的去做体检、去检查、去抽血。然后抽血其实他们就是为了就是找匹配的器官。我妈就说她就是警察直接把电棍塞到她嘴里，然后开始电击，然后就是之后她的嘴就是变形。她出来之后，我们看到她的嘴是有点变形的。所以就是这些残酷的经历，就是让我就是更加的希望就是能把这个真相去告诉全世界观众。
For me, as a person who was born in China and moved overseas at a young age, I struggled with the relationship between the Chinese culture and what I grew up knowing. In fact, as I got older, I felt embarrassed by the culture itself because of what's happening in China today. So this journey of me doing coverage on China is actually a step or a pathway for me to rediscover the good part of the Chinese culture. And I sat down with Shen Yun, a dancer at Shen Yun who shared a similar experience as me.
Growing up as a Chinese kid that was born in America, I never really found like my community, or I was always struggling with my identity. It's like all my friends were American, but my family was so Chinese. And then growing up as a kid, I was so insecure, I was antisocial. I didn't talk because I just felt like I never really belonged to anything. And it was really hard, I guess, balancing both sides of what my family taught me and what I wanted to be. There was always like, it was a struggle, I think, to fit in. And it wasn't until I came to Shen Yun that I really found a group of girls that were just like me. We went through the same things as we grew up. And now we are finally united by like a mission or a purpose. And then for me, that was when I realized that Shen Yun is something that not only did it allow me to discover who I was, but it allowed me to be proud of my culture and to bring it on stage. And that was something that I knew I just wanted to do for as long as I could. When I was young, I hated being Chinese because to me, I didn't really understand the culture part of it. I just knew that every Saturday I had to go to Chinese school, and then in Chinese school, I was with a bunch of classmates that were just like me. We're like all American-born Chinese, and we just made fun of what we were learning. We're like, oh, what is this? And then like, oh, we didn't like the teacher, and it was just like embarrassing. And once I really started, like I came to Shen Yun, I started actually learning like the history, the culture. There was so much poetry, just stories behind all of that. That was when I really realized like I'm actually very proud to be Chinese. There are so many values in traditional culture that it makes me feel very honored that that's part of my ancestry.
Okay, so here's something interesting that caught my eyes during my research of Shen Yun. The dancers, the students, they actually line up during a class and they bow to the teachers. I'm not so sure if this is something, because it's not quite common today in classrooms. I asked principal dancer Michelle Lian about it.
I think it really is like a value that was passed down from thousands of years. Like we always respect our teacher, no matter the teacher's age or gender or experience. As long as the person is standing at the position, we will respect the person's ideas, respect her words and everything. It's when she's at the position we will respect.
It is very cultural because Chinese history focuses a lot on respect for your parents, for your teachers, for the elderly. And before class, we all stand together, we face the teacher and we bow, we say 老师好, which is like, we greet the teacher. And then they will say like 上课, which means class begins. And then we start having class. At the end of class, we'll go back into that formation, we'll bow, and then we'll say 谢谢老师, which means thank you. And then the teacher will say 下课, which means class is dismissed. And I think it's a really nice way to just remind you that it's very hard to be a teacher, and it shows that as a student, you have a certain amount of respect for this person that is basically they're imparting years of their experience and their wisdom. Everything that they've worked so hard to learn, they're just giving it to you. So it's kind of like receiving a gift. And then when you receive a gift, you're not just gonna be like, oh, it's meant to be, right? To really show that you appreciate it, I feel like there are certain formalities that we like to, I wouldn't say like, it's not really a system or a routine, but it kind of gets you into that mindset that, oh, what I'm about to receive right now is precious. Oh, the amount of time in class, it's not just for us to sweat or just like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but you're really receiving something that can benefit you.
My main mission here was to understand what China before communism actually means.
So China before communism was very spiritual. There was a lot of emphasis on Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism. People were very spiritual, and there was a lot of emphasis on morality as opposed to atheism or the power of the state. And we're trying to revive that and then show people that what has been surviving 5,000 years, that's like, I would say the essence of Chinese culture.
Understand why the Chinese Communist Party is so afraid of Shen Yun, you really need to go to its very origins, when the Chinese Communist Party came to power in the aftermath of World War II. So it was bringing in this foreign import of Marxism, Stalinism, Leninism, later they added Maoism, and the idea was the only way they could bring this atheist, militant, utilitarian ideology of communism was to remove what was there before. 5,000 years of civilization, the spiritual grounding of Buddhism and Taoism and Confucianism. Chinese people for thousands of years believed, like many cultures around the world, what you do has consequences, right? Good and evil have reciprocal retribution, right? It might be heaven and hell, like in the Judeo-Christian tradition. It might be reincarnation, like in the Buddhist tradition, or that you have to be accountable to what you do when you face your ancestors in the afterlife. And so how do you get these people who believe that their word is their bond and is more important than what the government is telling you to do when you know what's right and what's wrong? How do you get them to beat up their teachers, to turn in their parents and have them sent to a labor camp? You have to wipe out that culture. And that's why you have all these campaigns, the peak of it being the Cultural Revolution, when they're marrying monks and nuns, they're razing temples to the ground, they're burning artwork. You're not allowed to read classic literature. You're not allowed to even listen to classical music and talk about traditions. And not only do they kill 60 to 80 million people in the process, they wipe out this culture that was there before. And now you have multiple generations later of Chinese people who've been cut off from their heritage. And so when these people see Shen Yun, and Shen Yun's mission is to revive traditional Chinese culture, to show China before communism, Chinese people say this, not me. They say, this is the culture my grandparents told me about. I cannot see this in China. I can only see this outside of China. And so people will fly to Taiwan, where same ethnicity, same heritage, right? But only a politically different system, 100 miles apart. And Shen Yun thrives. We have droves of people at the airport trying to get autographs every time we go there. We have people from China flying to Taiwan, those who can afford to, just to see Shen Yun. I'll tell you one small story. When we were performing in Vancouver, this is 2010, after the show, this Chinese man approached one of our security people and said, hey, pass on a message to the performers if you can. He said, I was sent here to spy on you guys, but I'm on your side. Go get them. And we get emails all the time from people in China saying, when are you coming to China to perform? We can't wait for you to be here. So I think what people realize is Americans, and specifically Shen Yun and Shen Yun performers, and the Chinese people are on the same side. We have a common enemy, the Chinese Communist Party. We did not seek out this enemy, but the Chinese Communist Party came after us as Falun Gong practitioners.
At Dragon Springs, there's also two other institutions, Feitian Academy of the Arts and Feitian College. I spoke with Grace Freed, Director of Academic Services at Feitian College, to understand the other part of what's at Dragon Springs.
Grace, can you tell us a little bit about what is the relationship between Feitian College and Shen Yun Performing Arts?
Okay, so there's a strategic partnership between Feitian College and Shen Yun Performing Arts. Many of the students are attracted to Feitian in the first place because they know that if you study here, there's a chance you can go on practicum with Shen Yun Performing Arts. So every year, Shen Yun will allow a quota of qualified students who pass audition to join them for their world tour.
Now, to be admitted to Feitian College, what sort of a resume or academic career experiences do the students have to be able to be a successful candidate to study there?
That's a really good question. So our typical student profile is that the applicants usually have at least 6 years of dance or music under their belts. And many of them have studied at a previous arts academy already. So they're not, learning dance or music for the first time. In addition to that, some of them have had extensive performing experience already. So many of them who are seeking to study at Feitian College are serious artists who are looking to pursue dance music as a professional career.
How does the college ensure the students are successful in terms of academic, but also, I assume, the dance or the performance side as well?
Okay, so in terms of academic studies, we are a small conservatory-style college. So our general education is really tailored to the performing artist. In that sense, the curriculum is really rich in the humanities because we believe a person must be well-versed with the philosophies, histories, and biographies of great artists from the past in order to create art that is profound, moving, and culturally relevant. We have academic services, high-touch academic services that check in with students, and we see what they're struggling with, what's going really well, so that we can help them reach their academic goals. Now, if students are struggling and we have a wide variety of learners, we can pair them up with the appropriate tutoring or mentoring support that they need. And what's really unique at Feitian College is that there's this peer-to-peer support system that's really organic and ingrained into the culture of the campus. So you'll often find students tutoring each other just because they want to help each other out.
And are all of the students at Feitian College part of Shen Yun Performing Arts?
No, I guess as terminology to get correctly, students at Feitian are Feitian students. There is a portion of them that are accepted through audition to go on practicum with Shen Yun, and practicum is an elective course that the college offers.
Are students on campus banned from using their mobile cell phones, or are they being watched? Like, is there any restrictions on the freedom of the college students there?
There is a student tech kind of office that provides tech support for students, and students all have their own phones, right? There's just an increasing trend of realizing how distracting, social media and just constant phone engagement is. So students are encouraged to engage with their studies, right? Stay focused on their arts.
The question I had on my mind was, why did the dancers want to join Shen Yun in the first place?
Well, I watched Shen Yun when I was 7, and I realized it's my way to, more like I watched my parents working day and night without weekends and without break to tell people about the persecution of Falun Gong. And I didn't know what I can do to help them. And when I watched Shen Yun, I realized, oh, this could be my way.
Michelle told me that she was so determined to dance at Shen Yun before moving to America, she had been collecting coins in hopes to one day be able to buy a plane ticket herself.
So you were ready to fund your own trip to New York to join Shen Yun?
Yeah, I was 9.
Some reports from the likes of the New York Times suggest that Shen Yun is forcing minors to dance for free.
The Shen Yun performers are actually not as young as people can expect. When you see them on stage, they look young and happy and energetic, and a lot of them are actually older than they look. So 85% of Shen Yun touring members are adults. Only 15% of touring members, less than 15%, are minors, and those are students on practicum at Feitian College and Feitian Academy of the Arts, who basically have reached a certain level where they can perform, and they get a chance to perform as part of their academic program in a New York State-approved program for credit to tour with the company. They see the world. They are mentored by the top performers, dancers, or musicians. They get to experience live shows, on-hand experience, and then they come back and continue their education. So actually only 15% or less of touring members are minors.
I think it's a very good experience because the younger dancers or younger students, they bring a lot of energy and boldness into the company. And as for older or veteran dancers, we bring stability and dance expression and stage experience to them. And I think it's a very nice balance.
Balancing patience with a lot of other factors, because I've been touring for 12 years. This will be my 13th tour. So a lot of times I get really frustrated, or I feel like, oh, when I was your age, I did things so differently. I was so much more productive, or like, you are so rude, or like, Gen Z, whatever. But like, I realized that sometimes I forget that when I started off, I was exactly the same, where I was the rude, irresponsible one. I was a brat brought up by my parents. I was an only child. Like, a lot of things, for me, it's reminding myself to be humble, and also like everyone is always watching and learning what kind of person you are. It will show up in your day-to-day. And if you are impatient, if you are rude, if you are irresponsible yourself, and in addition, you have no respect for anyone, whether they are older or younger than you, I feel like that sort of energy really rubs off on people. So I think for me, the most important thing is always bringing myself back, reminding myself that no matter what someone seems like or where they are at what stage of life, that they're still a human being, like they're still a person, and they deserve to be respected and treated with care. And I guess the whole process is just being compassionate and patient while teaching them, because they're the next generation. They're the ones that are going to be carrying the torch moving forwards.
And how has that passion been reflected on stage?
I was surprised and touched halfway through. I'm almost in tears.
It was spectacular. It was so life-changing and just incredible and enlightening.
I just find it amazing. The colors, the music, the orchestra and how it all plays in together, the video format in the background and how it comes into the stage. That was very surprising when I first seen that. It really adds to the show.
Oh, I think they're brilliant. Yes, their energy, their acumen, they're beautiful. The costumes are beautiful. The sets are beautiful. It really puts into perspective the history and culture of the real, what I call the real China, the China before 1949.
This is a show about celebrating Chinese culture, but the fact that in many ways people can't do that freely in China today, and indeed Falun Gong practitioners face severe persecution as those scenes illustrate. Thank you for your dedication, for bringing to us and bringing to life such an extraordinary performance, and keep going. And I hope the day will come when these performances can actually be performed in China itself.
It became clear to me that people who watched Shen Yun saw China in a completely different light. For me, this was the answer, a real cultural identity waking up. Maybe the solution for China isn't another campaign or another 5-year plan. It's giving the Chinese people their real heritage back. Let them see who they were. Like Shindy, countless young Chinese could reconnect with their culture and the value that once grounded it. And that, perhaps, is what will heal China today.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode on Shen Yun, as well as on the rediscovery of Chinese culture in the process and how that can be done. If you guys are interested, please check out my new channel, David on China and David Zhang 360, where I'll be doing all sorts of variety, but most importantly on China, as we continue to transition from China Insider to the brand new channels. So I'll put the link in the description. Please go subscribe to those two channels as we continue to update the latest videos and news about China.